None of us anticipated James Harden to suddenly demand out, always finding a way to go wherever he desires. Anthony Davis, Trae Young of the Washington Wizards, all of a sudden out for the season after being traded. The league being way too predictable have given teams like the Utah Jazz casual fines and warnings. The injuries looking more sus by the day, but a couple players who were clinging on their last legs, reputations nearly tarnished, a few former lottery picks making many eat their words. They've been balling out good enough for extra opportunities since the deadline. At this time of year, with many careers on the line, these players been delivering. Starting with Marvin Bagley of the Dallas Mavericks, team got rid of their beloved franchise legend only to end up snatching the player drafted a pick above Doncic. Being stuck on bad teams all his career with Sacramento, Detroit, and Washington, the soon-to-be 27-year-old was supposed to be a multiple-time All-Star by now, but a variety of injuries slowed his progress. His first 6 games with the Mavs, not bad. Numbers of 13.5 points, 9 rebounds, super efficient shooting in just 23 minutes, putting up a fighter's chance for another contract. The shift for him to living up to his draft position has sailed, but proving to be a useful player. Ironically, Bagley Jr. might last longer in the league than the disappointing number 1 pick DeAndre Ayton. Part of the 8-player deal that sent Anthony Davis to Washington, from viewed a salary filler to possibly rotational player for next season, coming off the bench on his 5th team in 8 seasons, making the most of his opportunity, dominated with 22 points against the Nets. Realistically, if Bagley was in Brooklyn, he'd probably be the team's 2nd leading scorer behind MPJ. An excellent one-dimensional bucket getter around the rim, one of the rare traits that's working out for Dallas. Now his production had many wondering, had he not started his career with Sacramento, would Bagley Jr. all along been a solid player? Jonathan Kuminga, the most divisive non-star name in the association for over a year. Not anymore. First game with Atlanta, what did he do? A 27-point debut, 24 minutes off the bench, 9 of 12 shooting, 7 rebounds, 4 assists, 2 steals. His fam can now have as much food as they want. His team close to Magic City, dealing with Steve Kerr all these years, a tragic pity. Now having his best time in years, his career high 34 points as a Warrior can easily break that anytime before the end of this season. Would have easily helped Golden State, even without Jimmy Butler or Steph. Steve Kerr's personal agenda, too much to overcome. Kuminga's situation a month ago, so bad, some believe he wouldn't last long in the league. Still has his flaws, needs to brush up on the decision making, could just be a hot scorer in stretches like a Benedict Mathurin. Given his size at 6'8", big body, one of the strongest players for his position, going downhill. Whether he can translate to winning basketball, certainly not the guy to be buried on the sidelines getting DMPs. Still only 23 years old, younger than the likes of Chet Holmgren, Brandon Miller, and Jalen Williams. It's never too late to understand team ball. Could Kuminga be one of those guys who would have benefited playing college ball instead of joining the failed G League Ignite? No player who's been traded recently happier than number 0 himself, proving he's a real hooper, better than most guys in the league, and not just a scapegoat. If he drops 20 plus every other night, would be the greatest revenge. Precious Achiuwa of the Sacramento Kings, franchise not so precious. At least the former first round pick been doing his part, reached double figures, had a season high 22 points, 12 rebounds, a win against Memphis after being waived by Miami before the start of the season. A couple games in, the Kings picked him up on a vet minimum, finally ended his team's embarrassing 16-game losing streak. Him and Russ Westbrook, the only 2 on the roster that constantly remains a professional as everybody else checked out. Achiuwa could easily be overseas now. This his only season, having multiple 20 and 10 games. Perhaps Achiuwa making Sacramento win can make him limited while they tank, or possibly Precious named the team's ultimate tank commander. Either way, earning more minutes and putting up numbers will draw tons of interest around the league. I could see the Lakers signing Precious for next season, become Luka's lob partner. Jared McCain of the OKC Thunder. How in the world Philly give him away for second rounders, going to the defending champs in a time without their two best players, Shea and J-Dub? That 21-point game off the bench had plenty losing their minds given how loaded OKC's already before his arrival. The franchise having loaded picks can take swings on players who are hit or misses without consequences. The second-year TikTok legend came back from injury. Why didn't they just let McCain's value go up? They weren't in any rush to get rid of him. Sam Presti, Fleet Daryl Morey, and one of the biggest deadline robberies. Philly might just be the team that fixed OKC and increased their chances at repeating. McCain could just be one of those X factors. If Thunder find themselves down 2-1 in a heavy series, might go off for a dozen points in a 3-minute stretch, help his team gain back momentum. In the situation sharing the floor with Isaiah Joe and Aaron Wiggins, massive spacing for the Thunder, Philly's impatience could cost them more in the long run. Yabusele of the Chicago Bulls. The legendary French tank commander produced little to nothing with the Knicks. His first game with Chi-Town, his best of the season. 1 out of 41 possible games, netted double figures with New York. He's done that 6 of his 8 games with Chicago. Still hasn't won an NBA game while playing on the floor since January. After bowling overseas for many years, he did play in the NBA during the 2018 and 19 season for the Celtics. Very deep on the bench then. If Yabu gets another contract, playing the 26-27 season, maintaining a roster spot for a good amount of games, his family would be eligible for lifelong health insurance under the league's health plans. Now 30 years old, excelling as a small ball center, having the most freedom he'll ever get on an NBA roster on a directionless franchise, letting him do whatever for now. Chris Middleton of the Dallas Mavericks, now forgotten former championship second option, in the final season of his max contract, will hit the free agency market, turn 35 before start of next season. 3-time All-Star, has had a fantastic career, balled out February 22nd, dropped 25, 7 and 7 against the Pacers, a scoring season high. Many have no idea he's with the Mavs, part of the AD trade. Will probably be getting more than a vet minimum next season. Remains a pro. The Mavs more than happy to just buy him out at this point, allowing Chris to join a contender. A team like the Timberwolves or Pistons can use him off the bench, possibly swing a playoff series. Now averaging a decent 11 points a game after being under the radar since Milwaukee got rid of him, the former NBA champ could be making massive headlines come April and May. Olivier Maxence Prosper, former first round pick in the 23 draft, Dallas gave him up too quickly, in fact waived him, before being converted to a two-way with Memphis. Looking for a guaranteed contract, he'll most likely get that. Having the best month of his career, Dallas decided to let the injury-prone Dante Exum take his spot. Compelling case for the rebuilding franchise. Memphis long-term plans. Dallas fans continue to be infuriated with Nico Harrison's boneheaded decisions, trading Luka forever number 1, number 2, getting rid of Quentin Grimes, 3, getting rid of Omax for a never healthy Exum who might already have exited the NBA after the Wizards cut him. A few more good performances, Omax will prove why he deserves a multiple-year contract. Guy Santos of the Golden State Warriors. Another wasteful season in the books. After Bob Myers stepped down, the front office been garbage. The second round pick from the 2022 draft barely played each of his first 2 seasons. 11 of his last 12 contests reached double figures. Had Jimmy Butler not get hurt, Santos likely still buried on the bench, getting little offers. As a restricted free agent for next season, improved his shooting 40% from deep over the course of the month, could just become Draymond Green's successor, has high motor, sacrifices his body. Been a while since the Warriors had a young role player willing to do all the dirty work, the type of versatile skill set that could swing a playoff series. Having Jimmy Butler as a mentor, implementing some of his moves might allow Santos to become a full-time starter, so far earning his minutes. DeAnthony Melton has a player option for next season, came a long way since tearing his knee December 2024. The now 27-year-old value skyrocketed. Some thought his career in jeopardy after that injury. outplaying his $3.5 million player option next season, delivering in the absence of Steph Curry. A couple teams might give Melton huge backs between the $12 to $18 million range. Remains one of the best pros, have no ill feelings towards the franchise after trading him to Brooklyn last season. After back-to-back 20-point games, could become one of the more reliable sixth man the next 2-3 years. Ousmane Dieng, a fresh start with Milwaukee, he wasn't gonna see the floor for the Thunder anyway. Already got his ring, now 22 years old, was looking to just hang on the league, labeled a bust, drafted 3.5 years ago. Racked up a couple double-digit stat lines, looking like a good shooter. If Giannis decides to stay with the team next season, Dieng could just become the starting 3. Once Giannis gets healthy, only Doc Rivers can control Ousmane's ability to be on the floor. Let Milwaukee put up 19, 11, and 6 to beat his former team when he was the 14th man on the Thunder. Talk about one of the rare hidden gems. Last but not least, we thought he'd be retired until New Orleans decided to pick him up. DJ, most memorable for his mentorship with rookie Derek Queen. That's how a vet stays in the league. Perhaps one more year for DeAndre Jordan, one of the most respected locker room guys in the NBA today. With survival and pride kicking in for the few who controls their fate, there was no better example than Chris Dunn 3 years ago. Was out the NBA for a bit, paid his dues in the G League. Utah gave him a chance, proved himself. Now 3 full seasons later, he's starting with the Clippers. Hard work during tough times goes a long way.